particular matter begins with a declaration some 5 months ago, or thereabouts, by the Prime Minister of Barbados, that he was experiencing severe stomach pains and that he was going to take a trip abroad with a view to seeking medical attention. And at the time that he said that, he appeared before the press side by side with one of the noted physicians in this country, and we were assured that our Prime Minister was connected or had been connected to the very best of hospitals in continental United States of America. And as might be expected, with that declaration, the hands which had previously held the metaphorical sword of political combat dropped those swords and became clasped in unison as we understandably prayed for a national leader. Well, the Prime Minister came back, and without giving us any indication as to what was the diagnosis, or if there was a diagnosis, he indicated that he was going to require more attention. And again, understandably, fists of combat, political combat that is, became unclenched, and palms were pressed together in supplication to the Almighty in the best interest of a national leader. And the people of Barbados took this situation in good faith and held in their confidence and trust the fact that the Prime Minister apparently was in a situation of personal difficulty. We never were told what the diagnosis was. We have never been told what the diagnosis is. And on the assumption that there is a diagnosis, and I say that because, and this is a very serious thing, those of you who are more curious, and those of you who have paused to reflect on the way this process has unfolded, must agree that David Thompson has mentioned that he may have to undergo surgery. And I do not know, and Jerome Walker is present, I do not know of any physician who can perform surgery if he has not first diagnosed what the invasive operation is intended to achieve. So that, on the assumption that there is a diagnosis, one would have anticipated that that diagnosis might have been made public or have been forthcoming. Now, I start on this note because I believe that there is an untruthful thing that is said about politics, and that it is the duty of the opposition to oppose. I do not accept it. I have never accepted that. To suggest that an opposition is there to oppose and to oppose no more is to suggest that the opposition is part and parcel of an exercise in chaos and mayhem. You cannot simply be there to oppose. Better it is, I believe, that the opposition is there to lay a stake at some point in time about that which is sound governance and about those things which are administrative best practices. And if we accept the principles of sound governance and administrative best practice, then we have at some point to give cause for pause and to reflect on that which is unfolding before our eyes with respect to the highest political office in the land. Now, we have also been told, and we have accepted, that the apparent loss of weight which the Prime Minister experienced was as a result of a diet imposed by his doctor. We have also been told, and we have been asked to overlook, by imputation we have been asked to overlook, the fact that 2 Sundays ago, at the Democratic Labour Party's annual conference, the acting Prime Minister, as he then was, Mr. Francis Stewart, laid the following revelation before the public of Barbados. He said, and I quote, that Mr. David Thompson, our beloved leader, has been laid low by a treacherous illness which has robbed him of his resonance and slowed his mobility. But as a fact, that extract that I just quoted to you is part and parcel of something delivered by Mr. Francis Stewart, the Deputy Prime Minister. Now, never before in the entire process of the illness had we heard anything about it being a treacherous illness. Never before in the entire process had we heard that the Prime Minister had been slowed to the point where his mobility might have been impaired. These things had never been said to the public of Barbados. In cathedra and ex-cathedra, inside and outside of the House of Assembly, people united and went on bended knee in support of the well-being and best wishes being offered up to the Prime Minister. In the Democratic Labour Party and in the Barbados Labour Party and outside of the two parties, people offered up their prayers and best wishes to the Prime Minister. There can be no doubt about that. In fact, the leader of this party was off the mark early by saying that the Prime Minister must be given as much latitude and time as was necessary. The question now therefore becomes, why is it that Francis Stewart is declaring something to the public of Barbados that had not previously been declared? And what is the nature of the declaration? What is the substance of the declaration? If I am saying to you, as he says to us, and let me say something about Francis Stewart. Mr. Francis Stewart has been called many things, some of which are true, some of which might be debated. Mr. Francis Stewart has been called ugly, and there are those of you who may wish to say that is true. Mr. Francis Stewart has been accused of